What's up, everyone? My name is Matthew Dale. I'm here to help you play better, sound great, and understand more. And we just got some brand new firmware for the FM3 and for the FM9 as well. I think the FX3 is not far behind, but I'm going to be on the FM3 today, firmware 9, and I'm going to be talking about a couple of new features in the filter block. Just so we know what's going on in this preset, which will be available over on my Patreon for free. The link is going to be to that in the description box below. And I'm running the Brit JM45. Here's my neck split. I'm running through a couple of Friedman Greenback 412 Dynacabs, and let's hit it with the Sunrise Splendor. And I've got a little bit more heat over here on scene 2. Just some nice light overdrive thanks to the Sunrise Splendor and the JM45. Let's go ahead and go back to scene 1 and pull in our filter block. I'm going to start with it behind this whole chain, this whole chain that I have going on over here, and talk about one thing. I don't know if this is actually brand new to this firmware, but for something like the FM3, this is a really great use because our filter block is so CPU efficient. This is a great stereoizer because we have a phase invert over here. I don't remember if this is now or if this was earlier or always. I don't remember. But just something that I saw as I was kind of going through this. Phase invert, if you're playing in stereo and if you're listening in stereo, if you're not listening in stereo, I'll show you what'll happen. Or to those that are in stereo, I'll show you what'll happen. But here's the filter block set to null. Nothing going on. It's literally nothing right now. Switch back to my neck pickup, but let me go ahead and show you what happens on this phase invert if you invert either the left or the right side when you're in stereo with your filter block panned hard left and right. It's a really, really, really great CPU-efficient stereoizer. Let me just hit it with a little bit of drive. And versus... Now, you do need to have a little bit of an idea of what's going on if you are going to be doing like stereo guitar tones. This is what happens. Let me go back to clean here. This is what happens if you put this in mono or you're running into a soundboard in mono or something. And phase invert. That's what we call phase cancellation. So those two signals, now that the signals are split left and right, and one is phase inverted, they're just going to cancel each other out. So you need to be using something like this. You need to be using a stereoizer or a stereoizing type of effect like this when you are in stereo. So just wanted to make note of that. I'm going to go back to none. We're going to pull this guy over here. And one of my favorite features of this new firmware that I'm going to focus on today is going to be the fact that we actually have a dedicated envelope filter now. Some of you other modeler guys out there might think like, we've had that for forever. And technically, us Fractal guys have had it forever. We just have to do more work, or had to do more work, where before I would go into the peaking filter, and I would set up a peak, and I would move this peak around using the envelope follower, and I would just have to set it up in a very custom way. Well, now it's extremely easy. If we're over here at stock settings and we just call in the envelope filter, now all of a sudden we have our envelope filter. always find that envelope filters work a little bit better on the bridge pickup. And there's another little kind of trick. This is basically a Mutron, a Qtron, or, you know, something like my Keeley Neutrino here. There's a nice fancy switch on the Neutrino. It might even be on the Mutron and some of those other pedals as well, where you could actually flip the direction. Instead of it getting brighter as you hit harder, if you swap these guys around, and I might actually just type it in because it's easier, and go back to 400 where this was, now it's flipped. And that can be kind of nice if you're playing up the neck in a lead and you got some other stuff going on, like a drive pedal. So there's kind of a cool effect there. Let me go back to just stock settings on this. Let's go back to 400 and 4,000. We can also change the peak. So if we want it to poke out a little bit more, go back to clean. And push this peak up. It'll quack a little bit more. That might be better if you do want to play it on the neck pickup, and you just might want to bump your sensitivity up a little bit. Let's get a little bit of drive on there as well. Now, don't be afraid to also move the order of these around as well. And there's a couple of other tricks to keep in mind with that. So if I want to flop these orders here, and I've got the filter behind the drive pedal now, it starts to get a little bit harsh. But that's because it's seeing what it's using to control that envelope is the block in. So everything that's already happening, all the boosting that I'm doing after the drive pedal, it's seeing that as my signal. If I want it to react the same way as it was behind the drive pedal, I can move this detector source to input 1, because that's effectively what I was doing on the other side. Now it's going to just behave a little bit nicer. We could also get really fancy and detect from another source from input 2, but I'm just going to bring it back to stock, and let's just mess around with this sweep shape a little bit too. Let me turn you off, just so we can hear things a little bit more. Ah, got a little more resonance out of it. That feels like it kind of gets up into that sweep a little bit quicker if I back this down and slow up that release time a little bit. yeah, you can have buckets of fun with this. People don't use envelope filters nearly enough, and maybe this will help bring the world back to envelope filters because they are a lot of fun. I would probably not suggest putting it back here. It's just going to probably have an adverse effect on your tone. Maybe. You might like it. It's just now that it's like filtering all of those frequencies that are produced from the amplifier rather than our guitar frequencies going into the amplifier, it's a little bit different. I like it over here. Yeah, you can have so much fun with this. Go ahead and try out the envelope filter for yourself. My name is Matthew Dale. I'm here to help you play better, sound great, and understand more. Remember to check out my block library at matthewdale.com/blocks, and I will have this preset up on my Patreon for free, linked in the description box below. I'll see you next time, and I'll play out with a little bit of envelope filter and some drive and a little bit of fun.